episode number this is?
Dougie. The Dougie episode.
It's the Dougie episode.
Took me a second to remember. I'm like, 93.
Episode
There you go.
93, baby.
Number 93. Playing in the most glorious year in 93. The last time this team had any sort of fun.
If Austin Matthews is the greatest player in franchise history, this guy, we've got the two greatest Leafs in franchise history over both my shoulders, as far as I'm concerned.
The greatest individual season in Maple Leafs history, in my opinion. 127 points. Disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
And a warrior. So
yeah, like just the type of guy that this team could use right now, quite frankly.
Cheers to Dougie.
Cheers to Dougie, indeed.
93.
The regular season is on the horizon. Thank God. Because preseason hockey is a tough watch. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy it's back. But I go on Twitter and I see how fired up some of these guys are about watching preseason hockey and just examining every second of Durarga-Chintsev's game. And I just can't. I can't, guys. I can't.
Yeah, Leaf podcast. Sometimes I feel like maybe I should sit down and watch it, and so I can have opinions and we have stuff to talk about with the preseason. And then you sit down and you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, it is. It's tough.
Sucks.
And it's honestly, man, it's not like this isn't an anti-Leaf comment. Like, I really don't want to sit and watch the Ottawa Senators AHL team.
No, it's just, I mean, we're busy people. We have full-time jobs. We have hobbies. We have girlfriends, fiancés. Sometimes a Leafs preseason game, especially when you got 82 of them we got to watch coming up.
The full 82.
Let's say that coming here for preseason takes, probably not the best idea.
No. The good news is we do have something to talk about. Both of us spent the weekend binging the All or Nothing documentary. We'd been talking in previous weeks about how we were excited to watch it, things we were hoping to see. Let's do high level, just overall opinion on it. You go first. Just give me like high level overall what you thought.
I think anytime you can see behind the scenes of something that me and you cover on a weekly basis, and we can only speculate what's going on in the dressing room, players' personalities, the GM and coach dynamic, seeing all that exposed for this hockey team is pretty cool. Like, it was pretty good insight. It's cool to see Sheldon Keefe do his thing. It's cool to see Dubas.
Sheldon F. and Keefe.
Yeah, Sheldon F. and Keefe. And Dubas doing a multitude of things, talking to players, putting players on waivers, making trades.
A magnet board.
Yeah, like, it's so... I think anytime you get a chance to kind of peek behind the curtain of a team that you watch so often and you wonder about things in the dressing room and things about the coach... It was a good insight to what actually kind of goes on behind the scenes, which is always entertaining in itself.
But overall, I don't think it set anyone's world on fire.
It was boring. That being said, like, I didn't want to come out here and just shit all over it because, like, it seems like that's the theme of everything we do now. We just shit all over everything. But
yeah.
I thought it was just they had 5 episodes. They had to cover a whole season in a playoff run, and guys,
No.
a playoff round.
Thank you.
A playoff round.
Thank you.
So I found it to be like a little clunky. Like, there was a couple parts in the earlier episodes where you got like a good part with Keefe talking to Dubas or player interaction. And you would get that for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then it was just like Will Arnett coming back on and being like, so, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then this, and then the da-da-da-da-da. It just, for someone who wanted to watch it but like was kind of unsure, I would say like skip the first 3 episodes and watch 4 and 5 because they'd get way too much in 5 episodes.
I wonder how much say the Leafs had in terms of like what they edited out. There's no way that Amazon intended to make something that I don't want to say it wasn't dull, but like that, like unexciting. Is that even a word? Like, it's just like something that just like you just watch it and you're like, yeah, meh.
I think it would have been more exciting if they just like took a section of the season, or if they just spent 5 episodes covering that playoff series.
Yes.
Like it was just like game 6 of 56. It's like
Yeah.
Marner scores
Well,
twice.
and especially,
It's like,
especially, you know what that like really bashed me over the head with? Every time I turned around last year, they were playing the Calgary Flames.
yeah.
Like it just felt like I know they played every team 600 times, but like, oh my god, like yeah, it's like yeah, this is the worst year to do that too, because of the fact that it was strictly a Canadian division. It was like game 17, Edmonton again.
Yeah.
It's just like
3 in Alberta, 3 against the Oilers, 3 against the Flames. It's like, but it was interesting kind of looking back on it that like they like pretty much like shit all over the Oilers and Flames all season long.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that made the end result so upsetting is that they were only out of first place for like a very small portion of last season.
They beat up those 2 teams. I thought they kind of beat up the Jets. They kind of beat up the Canadians, but like I forgot how much they struggled against the Vancouver Canucks. Like they couldn't beat the Vancouver Canucks last year for some reason.
They did at the beginning of the season, and then after that, they were just like, "Nah, we can't beat this team anymore."
So
and the 5-1 collapse to the Sens.
Oh, that was a good. Actually, that was a good portion of what was that, the first or second episode? I can't remember, but yeah, that was something you just forget about, and you're like, oh.
I want to do a little bit of a deep dive here on Sheldon Keefe because, he was clearly the star of the show. He signed a 2-year contract extension this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked what I saw. Like you said it earlier talking before we came on here. It seems like he's seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this narrative that Dubas brought him in to be Dubas's guy, and he runs like a country club environment. There's definitely that narrative out there. I've seen it. And that's not what I got at all. Like, he's not afraid. Like, in game 6, he goes in and he flat out says, Matty, Mitch, Himes, your line's getting effing dominated out there, right? Yeah. Like, it's like I was really impressed with, like, I'm running this ship here, boys.
Yeah, like that, as I said earlier, with getting a peek behind the curtain, it was nice to see that the coach sees what we all see and wants to fix what a lot of fans want to fix. And he can, and even though they're having a great season, there's several times where he's like foreshadowing to, you know what, we might be winning these games, might be scoring a lot of goals, but there's some games where it gets tight and we can't find ways to score hard goals. Like we can't bang in rebounds.
How many seasons in your life in the last 10 years have you heard that narrative? Like we've heard Sheldon Keefe said that. That's all Mike Babcock said in his tenure behind the bench. I'm pretty sure if you go back, you could probably find some sound bites of Randy Carlyle, granted, totally different roster, being like, this isn't a winning formula in the playoffs or whatever. It's just like, man, that's just the narrative of this team. And that's what the narrative of this team has been for so long is it's like, sure, we can play a great regular season style, but when we get into the playoffs, what did you think about some of his interactions like during practice? I was really surprised because as you said earlier, overall, it was a pretty safe documentary. That's the word I would best use to describe it. It's safe. But one of the moments that they kept in that I thought was really interesting that the Leafs would want this to be seen was it's the first episode after the loss to the Oilers. The Oilers, that's right. Matthews kind of says after the game, he sort of criticizes the game plan. And says, like, we're playing too soft and we're too worried about containing, like, McDavid and Draisaitl, like, something along those lines. And then Keefe the next day is, like, really, really pissed. And he goes into Dubas's office at the Ford Performance Center and just is like, he can't do that. Like, we can't be doing that. You can't be going out in the media. Then they proceed to have the most awkward conversation I've ever seen at practice, in which I find Matthews' whole demeanor to be like, get the hell away from me, man. Like, what did you think about that? Like, I thought, and a lot of the conversation, like the conversation he has, too with Jimmy Vesey is savage. Like,
yeah.
he just looks at him and he's like,
Kind of felt for him a little bit.
who, for Jimmy Vesey?
Yeah.
Because the coach just walks up and he's just basically is like,
you're brutal.
Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah.
Like, figure something out. Like,
Yeah, he's like, we brought you in here to sort of excel and sort of find a role, and I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
savage.
pretty savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the Matthews thing, I'm. It's easy to look at that interaction and say that he was being disrespectful or awkward. I think Austin Matthews just has a presence about him that just reeks of arrogance. Like, he knows he's the shit.
Yep.
He knows he's one of the best players in the league, which he is. And you don't need to be buddy with your coach. I think Austin Matthews knew after that he probably screwed up, and he probably knew that was coming. And I just found I'm just trying to not read too much into it. Like, at first, me and you both said, like, oh, he's kind of a dick. But, I mean, you think about going to work with your boss. Like, do you sit there and chum it up with your boss? Like, sometimes when your boss is trying to tell you something that you've heard a couple times, you just kind of stand there and you're like, yeah, okay. Yeah,
especially
sorry.
after, you're right. Especially after that, like, you might have made a mistake and like they got to come over and they have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And then they have the team meeting after, and he's like, Austin and I already spoke about this. Does anyone else want to speak up?
And no one says anything. But you know what I found interesting out of all of that is they played a safe game in Austin's opinion, but Keefe said that the Oilers played a better game because they actually did contain and got their offense when they could. And that's kind of like the story with this team. They don't know how to contain. So when they're not scoring wide open goals and rushing down the ice and odd man rushes, it seems like they're not playing their game plan. They don't know how to, like, play a contained game. That's what I got out of that. It's like the fact that you thought that was a safe game plan. No, contained means play smart in your own end and capitalize on your chances. That's what containing means.
Well, Keefe kind of says that. Like, you mentioned to me over the weekend that one of your favorite parts was when Dubas sort of assembles like the leadership, or Keefe sort of assembles the leadership group in Dubas's office.
Yeah.
And kind of like some of the things that he like highlights about how like we don't score any. Like,
yeah. Basically saying that, like, we're last in the league in scoring goals off the rebound.
Yeah.
Basically what I said earlier, that when the games get tough, I'm starting to kind of notice that, like, the offense kind of dries up.
Yeah.
Like, obviously we're a high octane offense, but those games where things get tight, aka playoff hockey, we can't find the offense dries up, and that's a concerning factor because games aren't easy in the playoffs. And the whole thing was just a giant Sheldon Keefe. This whole thing was just foreshadowing the playoffs.
Yep.
The whole thing.
Yep.
Every episode was like, yeah, we're playing great, but we got to buckle down in the middle. We got to get 5 guys above the puck. We got to contain. We got to score dirty goals. He kind of knew what was coming, and then ultimately it happened. Like, it's just.
Another thing that I found interesting is you got kind of we got to witness the planting of the seed of Ilya Mikheyev's unhappiness.
Yeah.
He goes in to speak to Dubas to talk to him about how he's like not stoked on his ice time, and Dubas basically is like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah.
But in his own Dubas way, where he's like trying to build him up. And this is a good segue because I want to talk about Kyle Dubas next. But like in his own way, where he's like trying to build him up and telling him like, listen, whether you play 9 minutes or 20 minutes,
but you're usually in the middle of that.
I know. It's so. All right, let's talk about Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas is a really nice guy.
He's a very likable dude.
Yes.
I actually like Kyle Dubas.
Yes.
I would have a beer with Kyle
We
Dubas.
are not, we have never, ever been a podcast that just rails on Kyle Dubas. Like, never.
No, we've questioned his decisions.
Yes, and we've criticized some of the moves he's made, which he deserves at this point, and we always try and be fair.
Yeah, it comes with the job.
Yeah, we always try and be fair. But, like, I just don't know, man. Like, I just don't know if, like, you use the term. I keep alluding to a conversation that Ryan and I had before we jumped on here, but you use the term, you don't know if he's cold-blooded enough. And I think what you mean by that is you got to make some, like, you got to be a bit of a savage if you're going to run a hockey team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you need to go as far as, like, I don't know, like a Lou, perhaps. But, like, this whole, like, Mr. Nice Guy thing.
But, like, Lou establishes a presence early.
Yes.
Like, where has Lou gone in his hockey career where he hasn't had success? Success with the Devils, pretty much most of his career. Came to the Leafs, turned it around, couple good seasons, goes to the Island. They're one of the best teams in the NHL. I found through the whole thing, the most interesting thing from my point of view, my opinion, is that Kyle Dubas is just... He's too buddy with everybody, and he wants to be too much of, like, almost like a mentor, and he wants, like, everything out of them as hockey players. He wants the performance, them to step up in the playoffs. But I just, even the way he says, like, their names, like Mitch and John, the way he says John, he says John in the same way every time,
and Austin.
Yeah, I just found that. Like, everybody listen. Next time you hear a Dubas interview and he talks about Tavares, just listen to the way he says John. Like, it's just, like, so silly. But, like, he did have that savage moment with Jimmy Vesey, which is like an awkward situation to have. Like, you're gonna have to do that if you're a general manager.
Put you on waivers. Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I think he's just, like, almost too worried about the well-being of these dudes, which is like, and again, it's a fine line because, like, I've had bosses in my career where, like, I appreciate someone who cares about me as a person. I really do. Because if you have a boss who's just a complete and utter prick and they just don't, it's terrible. So it is definitely a fine line that you need to walk. But yeah, he definitely, like, he blurs that line a lot. And I'm finding that now, like, he did some radio hits last week, and all he says over and over is, these guys care. These guys care so much. And it's just like, okay, Kyle, like, thank you. Like, we get it. Like, I at a certain point, I kind of want to say, like, are you trying to convince me that they care? Or are you trying to convince yourself that they care? Because you will not stop saying this. Yeah,
publicly.
And another thing I found interesting watching this, it kind of flashed me back a little bit, was Brendan Shanahan popping his head in a couple times. And
he just kind of walks around.
And you think
Brendan Shanahan.
You think about the rebuild, okay? They come in, they tank, they bring in Lou, they bring in Mark Hunter. This was supposed to be the regime that, like, turns everything around and hard decisions, and then all of a sudden it's just like, that's gone, and it's Kyle Dubas.
Yeah.
Like, don't you find that I know that's in the past, but it just seemed like the Babcock, Lou, Mark Hunter, like, that was, like, the triple threat that was coming in. They did a great job off the start, kind of revamping everything, getting the most out of players, making good decisions. And then it's just like, how did Shanny go from that to something that Shanny almost seems like he's for, to just like, okay, now I'm going to just get rid of all that and put all my chips in this young kid's basket that just he met, and he must have just fell in love with him the first time he met him, or all the conversations they had.
So you saw in the documentary, he's like a prodigy child, Kyle Dubas.
Yeah,
he also is somebody who is very new school in the way he approaches the game, and he had a lot of hype. I've heard people like Elliot Friedman talk about this before. He had a lot of hype when he was in the Sioux, like a lot, about what he was doing and how he was thinking about the game differently, outside the box thinker, so on and so forth. And as the story goes, because if you just said to me, they brought in the three-headed monster of Lou, Babs, and Mark Hunter. He hired Kyle Dubas before he hired any of them.
Yeah, I know.
Kyle Dubas joined. If you look at Kyle Dubas's first photos with the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, they have that logo that's on the jersey behind you. That's how long he's been here. So as the story goes, he was approached by the Colorado Avalanche, I'm pretty sure it was Colorado. He was approached by the Colorado Avalanche, and they were going to offer him a position. And he went to Shanny, which I assume was like he was already an assistant GM here. So
that's when they were starting to turn around and everything started to look amazing.
I assume if he was going to take that role, that it might have been before they hired Joe Sakic, like to be their GM.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems weird. Like it's Colorado Avalanche. They're always hiring Joe Sakic.
Yeah.
GM. So that kind of forced Shanny's hand. And I think if you gave Shanny some truth serum, he might have turned the reins over to Dubas a little sooner than he would have liked. And Kyle Dubas we're watching this kid learn on the job. I love how I call him a kid. Guys my age, calling him a kid.
Yeah.
We're watching him.
He looks like he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like we
like he literally looks like a child.
It's like we're watching this guy learn on the job. Like we talk about it like, God, I'm so sick of talking about the salary cap. I'm so sick.
But like that's
of it.
what I was gonna get into.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between Lou and Dubas. Not that I'm like, oh, bring Lou back or whatever. Like none of that. But it's just like that stuff we were talking about, him almost getting too personal with the players and being buddy. Like I could see that leaking in to this piece of paper we have in front of us with these cap hits and these contracts being signed. Like I just feel like he's almost just falling. You're right. He's learning on the job. Yeah. He's young. Like it comes across in the documentary. Like he's a young dude. He's a good guy, which I could tell. Like I would like him too.
Yeah.
But like it's almost like he's just almost too young and like too buddy, and just I don't think he has what it takes to, like, he already made his bed. Like what? Like he can't do anything now. Yeah. Like the contracts are signed. His bed's already made. So it's just whatever happens in the future. But I just thought he came across a little too nice, you know, like just nice, and which there's nothing wrong with that, but it just like I don't like the way he talks about the players sometimes. They get a little too like buddy vibes, and it just I just kind of bothered me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, well, and listen, him putting his faith into the players like this and telling everyone like his job is on the shoulders of these guys who he keeps telling us care so much. So I hope they care enough to do enough to ensure you keep your job. So we'll wait and see. Anyway, so all in all, I think entertaining to watch. Didn't set our world on fire. If you're a Leaf fan, you should definitely watch this. That's my thing.
Yeah, I think coming out of it, definitely Sheldon Keefe's the star. It might as well be called the Sheldon Keefe Show.
Yes,
because that's the whole show. But yeah.
Ryan, it's that time again.
What time is that?
Autumn is in the air. The pumpkins are in the patch. And our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure that you don't carve your pants pumpkins while you're grooming.
Pants pumpkins?
Make sure that you are keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th generation performance package. It's time to bundle up with Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, the creme de la creme of men's boxer briefs, and a travel bag for all your goodies. You know how you get this? You go to manscaped.com, you fill up your cart. When it comes time to check out, you go to the little promo code section. You enter the Buds, THEBUDS, all one word, and get 20% off and free shipping with that very code. That's 20% off and free shipping with code THEBUDS at manscaped.com. Make your balls the priority this fall. Choose Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Two things I want to get your take on. Nick Robertson already cut from training camp. I'm not surprised that he's not on the opening night roster. I am surprised that he's cut this early into camp.
I guess that's just a decision.
See him finish his check on Marner in the blue and white game?
I feel like that is a decision where if this guy's going to come and play for us, we'd rather him be in a top 6 role than throw him down with Mikheyev and Kampf and Spezza and Simmons. And if we want him here, we want him to be in a top 6 role. So if he's not going to get there, let the checking guys do the checking things, send him down, be on the first line of the Marlies, all that wonderful development stuff that everyone talks about. And he'll go down and play top line minutes, and all of a sudden that's just going to make him into a great player. But if he's not in the top 6, they probably just sent him down for that reason.
Bringing up the top 6 is a perfect segue. And the second thing I want to get your take on, it's looking more and more like your first line left winger on opening night will be Nick Ritchie.
Yep.
I think it's worth a try. I think if you can get this guy to perform at a higher level, that's found gold. Big body. You can put him out front of the net. Marner can feed him pucks all season long.
Got to get in front of the net and got to get open.
Yes.
And you got to check hard, and you got to back check. You basically got to do what Zach Hyman did. And that's basically it. Just do what Zach Hyman did, basically. Check hard, score when you can, play defense.
Yeah. Do you like the decision to have him start first line left wing?
I don't really care right now. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's not – everything's going to change. Everything's not going to be the same. The thing about their lineup this year is if he doesn't work out on the first line, then what? Then Bunting goes up, he goes down, then they bring up Mikheyev maybe they bring up Robertson. Like, you never – like, I don't know. So start him on the top line, big body, gets physical, just do the right things, and I'm sure you'll have a good season.
We only got a few minutes left, and I wanted to make sure that we got this in this week. I'm going to deviate a little bit from Leaf talk. The Toronto Blue Jays season comes to a heartbreaking conclusion. Like, heartbreaking. And I wanted to throw, like, you avidly followed them this year, really passionate about watching them this year. So I just wanted you to sort of close the book on the 2021 Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, it was like, it sucks when you have so many hitters have career years, have 4 guys over 100 ribbies, have a bunch of dudes flirting with 300, over 30 home runs. You have a pitcher that won the Cy Young. You had Manoah come up. All of a sudden, he's a stud. But, man, I know they were 1 game out, but I cannot stress this enough for Blue Jays fans. I know you care about Marcus Semien, and I know you care about Robbie Ray. They're going to demand a lot of money, so it's kind of a crapshoot at this point. But the Blue Jays would have made the playoffs if they had the bullpen that the Yankees and the Rays trot out there every single night when they're healthy. I don't want to see my 8th inning guy, my 7th inning guy, my 6th inning guy throwing 93 poo outside the zone and with a shitty breaking ball. Watch the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen. 97 plus, wipeout slider. That's it.
Yep.
And then they throw in maybe a guy with a weird arm, kind of like Simber. Like, Simber had a great year. So you had Romano and Simber, but, like, dude, they lost so many games earlier in the year because they didn't have a bullpen. And people want to blame Charlie Montoyo all they want. I think it's ridiculous. You're given what you're given. What is he supposed to do? Yeah. Like, what was he supposed to pull a guy earlier? And it's like, well, it's not that easy. You can't just get on the phone and be like, get him in. Like, the guy's got to warm up. He's got to be ready. You got to make quick decisions. And sometimes it's hard. Yeah. And there's guys who are available. There's guys who aren't available. There's guys who are somewhat available. To me, screw everything else. Number 1 focus this offseason. I know they want to go out and get a third baseman, starting third baseman, whatever. You need 97 plus with wipeout sliders.
Oh, there you
if
go.
you get that, this team with Teoscar Hernandez, George Springer, you need a healthy George Springer too, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Bo Bichette mixed in with Barrios, Manoah, maybe Ray again. Maybe they go out and get another guy. You need 97 plus wipeout sliders coming out of that bullpen.
97 plus wipeout slider.
Go watch the Rays. Look at Andrew Kittredge, the guy who comes out for the Rays. Like, sidearm 98 with the most disgusting breaking ball you'll ever see in your life. And they have like 7 of those dudes. And we got Tim Meza, 93 poo. Like, the guy sucks. Trevor Richards, I know his changeup, whatever. Stanton went down and hit it, but 92 poo. Like, it's not good enough in this league. You need swing and miss stuff in your bullpen. And if you don't have that, you're not going to make the playoffs. Like, you're not, especially in this division with the Yankees, with the Red Sox, with the Rays. That to me, screw everything else. Go out and get something in your bullpen because it's not good enough.
Overall, though, really, really enjoyable season to watch. Super, super likable team. Heartbreaking way to end the season. Like, God, I just. You don't get any more likable than Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette.
Yeah,
like, you don't get any more likable
for sure.
Than these kids.
But honestly, like I know they're like the Leafs are in year 5 of like not winning anything, but kind of down the stretch they did show kind of like I know they went on that run to even just get back in the contention of the wild card, but there was signs of them also not being able to bear down near the end there.
Bo came up pretty big in the Yankees
They
series
lose 2 games to the Twins, which I know people hate on the Twins, but the Twins actually have a really good lineup. Their pitching just kind of sucks. And then the story was written to me when you sent out your best pitcher against the New York Yankees, and he couldn't get the job done. Yeah. I'm not going to fault Robbie Ray for that. He's had a great year, but if your best pitcher gives up 3 home runs to the New York Yankees to lose that series, to me, right then and there, it was over. So, good season. Probably going to be a lot of change. Probably going to be a lot of unhappy fans when Marcus Simeon's fielding ground balls for the San Francisco Giants next year and Robbie Ray's pitching for the Los Angeles Angels. But I cannot stress bullpen enough for this team. Cannot.
And on that note, we will continue our crusade to the start of the Maple Leafs regular season. I think we got one more episode in us before the puck officially drops on the 2021-2022 season. Maybe next week we'll do we'll look at some schedules. We'll talk about being back in the division. We'll do a season preview episode.
Actually exciting talk.
Yeah, season preview episode coming up next week. Thank you very much for checking us out, everybody. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Also, tell your friends. Make sure that you head on over to our audio channels as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those great places. Just go wherever you get your podcasts or your entertainment and search Talkin' Buds.
Even just Google it.
Did you like my recovery there? Like, I was in the middle of that soliloquy, and about halfway I was like, and make sure to...
Yeah. I thought you were gonna look over and just be like,
well, no, see, we're at that point now in our podcast career where it's like, I just like... Yeah, they know the drill. Like, we've got enough. We've been around long enough now. People know the drill. Like, that's the worst, though, when you have, like, a set. Like, I say that every week, but then something happens in your brain where, like, you're looking in the camera and the light's shining, and you're just like, and...
Yeah, there's something different when that light goes on, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes you just sound a little goofy.
Hit like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Give us a thumbs up. See you next week, guys.